But welcome, welcome if you haven't seen me. Um, I'll do a little bit of tarot, I'll do a little bit of astrology, but I really want to talk about, I wanted to talk about this yesterday, and I'm also gonna like, it's not just horoscopes. I'm gonna be putting other stuff in here too. So, one of the things is to reset our vagus nerve. Uh, I'd forgotten to do that in the middle of doing horoscopes yesterday, so I want to do that first. Resetting your vagus nerves helps with your anxiety. It can also help with headaches too. So, um, yeah, let's do that now. So, I want you to look straight and cup your hands like this, and then put them in the base of your head and your neck. And then I want you to look straight, but so have your face straight, look straight, relax these, and then your wings, I call them wings, relax your wings. And then I want you to look to the right all the way until you yawn. Ugh. And then we're going to do the other side. So then I want you to cup it again. And then I want you to, with your eyes, look to the left as far as you can. Don't strain yourself and hurt yourself. And sometimes you'll need more time. Like mine went very quickly because I do it a lot. Well, not a lot, but I mean, I do it more often than not. We'll say that. But if your anxiety is really high, if you haven't done this before, it may take some time. So just look to the left until you get that yawning. Sorry. I have to do that in front of y'all so that you see it. So that should help reset your vagus nerve. Take some time during the day if you're feeling a little anxious to have that happen. For those of you that are having like more of an issue and like you're just not yawning, try putting your tongue where your gum and your front teeth meet, where that little ball is, and press on that little ball. Put some pressure up there, and that should help as well. I mean, I have other modalities, but we'll try those as first. This is just to sort of get you to relax, everybody get into the nice space, a little bit more relaxed. And this is the thing, even though we think we're relaxing, sometimes our bodies are in such fight or flight and or freeze for so long that it's hard to kind of get out of it. So you may think I'm relaxed, but you may not, your body may not know what relax is, right? This is why we do different modalities. This is why we use herbs. This is why, things to help your body to get out of that sympathetic, parasympathetic thing going on where you're either in fight or flight and not rest and digest. And it's important to be in rest and digest so that when you need to fight or flight, you can do it, right? You don't need to like stay in fight or flight. Does that make sense? We're in such a society where they want us in fear, and we've had fear for a while. Some of us all our lives, but others really when that pandemic started, right? And here's the thing, I've said this before, I'm not keeping this time because last time I did, when the pandemic came, I didn't say anything, even though I knew something was coming. So this time, just know that was a dry run. Okay. And I'm not saying that we're going to have another pandemic. I'm just saying they want us in fear. So we're not going to do that. That's why I'm on here. That's why there are a lot of people on here. We're not going to feed into the fear. That's not what we're doing. This is Aquarius, Pluto. We're changing the generations. We're changing stuff. We're doing what we can do. And how do we do that? By helping ourselves, by changing ourselves, right? So that was a nice intro. Welcome, welcome everyone. You're probably like, never mind, I don't want to talk to her. uh, anyway, so yesterday, also I want to thank those who are sending me like for coffee, buying me coffee. I appreciate it. We kind of talked about the eclipses, about where we were going, but I kind of want to talk about the actual lunar eclipse and how that's going to affect each sign. I started channeling yesterday. It went in a very different way than I thought it was going to go. So In fact, if you guys could share this out, like, tap the screen. The YouTube algorithm doesn't know me anymore. So, yeah, we're trying to get back to that. We're trying to get back to where the YouTube algorithm knows what I'm doing and it knows where to put me, right? Because here's where we're going to be heading for the next 2 years and developing that. And that is another thing I want to talk about, but I'll talk about it in a little bit with the lunar eclipse. But it's like, remember, we're the balloon and we're going to go into this new space, and the new space isn't going to feel well because we were in the box that fit so comfortably that was perfect for us. But as we know more and do more and evolve more, we expand like the balloon, right? And so it's comfortable in the box or the house. I used it as a house as well. But we're going to go into a bigger space, we're so that we can fit better, right? But when we go into the bigger space, it's bigger than us. It's bigger, us as the balloon, it's bigger than us. So it doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel like us yet, right? And so I feel like with this moon here, because Neptune and the sun are conjunct, they're not exact yet, but they're talking to each other. So they're conjunct. So it's almost like we're in that creative, dreamy, and we have been for the last couple of days. And I encourage you to just stay in that, because the thing about evolving, the thing about being here on Earth, and the thing about all of this is, I said this before, you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. None of us are broken. We're trying to have the experience. We're trying to have experiences individually and with groups and with others on this earth. That's what's going on. We're having these experiences, right? Now, some of us are evolved enough or want to do it in this way where we are conscious of that and want to be able to go forward consciously. Does that make sense? And so over the last couple of days, it's time to, like, I encourage you to be in this dreamy, creative, magical state. And with the moon here too, there's wisdom in there, there's clarity in there. That's the sun. And this is happening sort of where I talked to each one of you signs about yesterday. But don't think of it as there's something wrong with me and I'm broken. Think of it as I'm trying to go to this next experience. What is that? Okay, am I done with all the people around me lying to me? Am I done with that experience? Did I learn what I wanted to understand? Did I understand what I wanted to understand? Now I want to go into the space where I don't have to worry about that, where there are people that are just happy and jolly, and not everything's a trial and a tribulation, right? Like, that's where we're, like, moving to as a group and individually. Does that make sense to you guys? And so that's why I encourage you to stay in this space of allow yourself to dream, allow yourself to create, allow yourself to do that. You you have Venus here and Saturn here that are really trying to restructure this part. You have Pluto here that's going to show you fear, obsession, um, transformation, trauma, right? So it's like, do we always have to look at the trauma? No. Why don't we focus on the creativeness? Why don't we focus on better spaces? And some of us don't know what a better space is. Some of us have never had a better space, right? At least in this lifetime. I'm sure in other lifetimes you've have. But at least in this lifetime, some of us have not had a better space. You don't know what that is. And I'm telling you, nobody has been where Pluto is at 1 degree Aquarius unless you are 3, 4, 500 years old. Otherwise, none of us have been in this space, right? And so we get to create. We get to remember when I said, with each sign, with each planet, there is it's the way that you want to interact. What do you want to get out of that planet? Are you going to get the lower frequencies? Are you going to get the mid frequencies? Are you going to get the more evolved frequencies? So I call it less evolved, more evolved. Right? But you guys say higher, lower. So Are you going to get the lower frequencies, the middle frequencies, or the high frequencies? What are you going to how are you going to interact with each of the planets, which is because they're here to help you, right? So what are you going to, how are you going to do that, right? And that's why I'm saying with this creative state, with this dreamy state, with this possibilities that you're seeing, where you could possibly go that you've never been before. What if it was okay? What if there were people that were really, really nice around you and you didn't have to worry about being taken advantage of or being lied to or somebody doing you wrong in a relationship or people being mad all the time or doing without, a home or food or a car or blah, blah, like that's what I was saying before in the first one before we got off is they want you, they as in the people that know what's going on this earth and we know who they are. We don't know exactly their names, but we know what we're talking about, right? I know this is going to go a little bit off, but they want you in fear and they want you to be thinking about how you do without, because our thoughts are things. Our thoughts make this world, right? They know what we're capable of. So I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to say, don't always think of that because I used to say it this way. We live in the past, right? What we thought about months ago, we're living now, right? It's the constant thought of me being without, me doing without, me having this happen, me having that. It's that constant thought that continues to have you live your life the way that it is and you be unfulfilled and unhappy, right? And so you have to consciously think of being in a different space. And in retrogrades where we had that in the last 6 months, that was a different space. This is the universe, the sky, the stars actually telling us now's your chance. This is such an easier space for you to get into the new vibration. What do you want? That's what the universe, that's what the planets, that's what it's all calling out to you right here, right here, right here. Mars is giving you the gumption to do it. Pluto is there saying you don't want any more of this trauma. Mars is saying you can do this. Venus is saying you are so beautiful and you deserve better. Saturn is saying we can restructure this. I am the father of time. We can do the spaces. We can do the time. I can show you how to restructure this, right? The sun is showing you, you have this ego that's good for you. It can be in balance and make everything clear for you, right? Neptune is saying, join me in the creativity where I can go between worlds and bring what your thought is, bring what your feeling is to this earth. Right? And Mercury's like, I can help you process this. I can help you communicate this to the world, to earth, to people. I can help you process this, right? All of these are saying something to you. They're all here to help you. And it just kind of depends on which vibration you're going to decide to take. But it's going to how do I say this? It's going to have you have to decide. That's part of why I'm doing this is I don't want there to be any more fear, because that's where they want us. They want us in fear so that we continue to do this cycle, because it's a new energy, it's a new space. And if they can get us to continue the old cycle in this new space, well, then guess what? This new space is going to be the cycle again. What we're trying to do is change that. So become aware of that. Does that make sense to you guys? To become aware of that. That's part of what I want to help with, is like change your thought, change your stance, change your feeling, change your emotion, be consciously aware. And it's only for a little bit that you have to be consciously aware before that becomes the habit. Does that make sense to you guys? So, yeah. So I encourage you for today, with the astrology, to continue to let your creativity happen, right? And I already taught, you'll have to look at yesterday's, but I talked about where that's happening for each sign, okay? So, like today, specifically, you might get some wisdom and some illumination because of the moon. So you may feel like, oh, I think I have an answer. Oh, I think I can do it this way. You won't have the answer, but you'll have a way that you're getting to the answer, right? Because we have to go through this portal first, right? So you may get a glimpse, a feeling um, of an answer of the direction that you want to go to. And this is all going to come around, right? I'm going to show y'all in a little bit. I know it doesn't make sense right now, but it's all going to come around when I do the lunar eclipse, because that's what we're feeling. We're about to end Pisces, right? We're about to go into Aries season. We're ending a cycle. Pisces is the 12th house. We're ending a cycle. We're ending the year, right? So Aries, on the 19th or 20th, whatever, the sun goes into Aries, right? That's when we start the new cycle. That's kind of the New Year's for us, right? For those of us that do astrology, for those of us that do spiritual stuff, that's the actual new year, because we're ending the cycle of Pisces. But your body and your mind and your feeling already knows this. Like, I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with you. You've always known this. You just aren't always conscious of knowing this stuff, right? So that's why the dreamy state, that's why the wisdom, that's why the, oh, I kind of see where I want to go. Oh, I'm getting a glimpse of, oh, I'm feeling a little better. No, I'm ready to walk away from this. This doesn't do me any good anymore. Does that all make sense to you guys? Like, your body, your consciousness, your higher self is constantly, it's part of you. So it's like, yeah, you're getting ready to go into this new space. That means you're going to be walking away. Remember, I said yesterday when we talked about you're going into a new house, and it's your house, you bought it, but it doesn't feel like your house because you don't have anything in it. You have your boxes there, but there's stuff that you couldn't take to the new house because it no longer serves you. You don't need the old dishwasher. You don't need that old bed. You don't need the old TV. You don't need the old cabinet. You don't need the old washer dryer. You're going into a new space where you're going to be acquiring, manifesting new things. It doesn't feel like yours yet, even though it's yours, you bought it and you're going to sleep in there in the house, but not everything's unpacked that you're bringing, right? It's still in boxes. And that's what's happening. We're going to be moving into this new space. But to do that, we can sense that we're going to be walking away from the old space, from the old stuff, right? And so we can think of this time now as you boxing your stuff up to move into the new space, right? You try to decide, am I going to take this? Am I not going to take this? Do I really need this thing from 6th grade? Do I really need this picture that I drew when I was 5 years old? Do I really need it? I mean, kind of don't need it. And, I'm old enough that it's not going to go anywhere. And I've had the memory of it, and it's okay for me to let it go, right? Like, you can think of this space as that right now, right? So think of it as that, but it's exciting. It's like, oh, I know it's a little bit trying because, I mean, like I said, I'm ex-military, so we've moved a lot. I've always moved a lot, even before military. But it's like, oh, it's a little bit daunting because I got to go through all the stuff and I got to like figure out what I'm going to take and what I'm going to leave. And so you can be getting into that space too, but it can also be exciting. It's like, oh gosh, I'm going to go into this new space. Okay, I'm going to do my Virgo side and I'm going to get organized and I'm going to see what I'm going to take and I'm going to see what I'm not going to take and I'm going to be really honest with myself. Okay. And that's kind of what we're sensing. That's kind of what we're feeling. And I think on a global level, we're all sensing that too. We're like excited, but we're a little scared and it's a little daunting, but we can do it. Right? Does all that make sense to you guys? And that's kind of where we're at. And that's why I'm saying, if the universe, if the planets are saying, let's create right now, let's just take a break and have a glass of tea. Let's relax. let's think about how we're going to do this. Let's feel how it's going to feel like when it's all done. How do we want it? Right? That's kind of today's mood. It's been yesterday's mood. It'll be tomorrow's mood because the sun is going to become exact with Neptune in the next couple of days, but we still have that. It's like the universe has always supported us. It's giving us the space to do this, to think about where you want to consciously go, right? And I told you guys yesterday about how each sign would be thinking about it. You'll have to look at the video about that, but that's kind of what's going on. Okay, eclipse. So we have the lunar eclipse, which is what I was talking about. I told you it was all going to come circle. The lunar eclipse is our way, and tell me if you guys can still hear me. This is our way. This is our way of walking away because we're going to move into this energy, right? And that's the lunar eclipse. We're going to be dealing with this for the next 2 years. Okay. It's like we get to move into the new house very slowly. Okay. And so it's not the only time that we get to decide, oh, I'm not taking this, right? We get to decide a couple of times. Well, I'm not going to take this, and let's see how it looks. Let's see how this new furniture or this old furniture looks in the new house. And then maybe it doesn't look right, so maybe I do decide to leave it later, right? This is the start of that. This is the start. That's the lunar eclipse. We're going to be walking away from something. We're going to be holding space into this new house that we're moving to, this new space, the new box for the balloon. And we're going to start deciding what we're going to leave, what we're not going to bring with us. Okay, does that all that make sense? We're moving on to the eclipse season. So March 25th, we are going to start this eclipse season. We have eclipse seasons every season, but we're going to start this one, which means we just ended a cycle, 2 years, 18-month cycle, and we are now moving into a new cycle, right? So that means we're going to have solar and lunar eclipses for the next couple of years in these two specific signs, which means in us, hold on just a second, let me move this to the 25th because that's when it starts. 4/25. Okay. Within us, we have every sign within us. So we have every house within us. We have every area of life within us, right? So within us, we are going to be letting go of, unfocusing on, however you want to say this. We're moving to a new house. We're going to say that. We're moving to a new house. We're evolving to a new space. If we're the balloon, we're going to a bigger box to like fit the balloon in. Okay. If you're the person, we're moving into a new house. We get a new house. Okay. And it's going to be bigger because we need more room because a little 1 bedroom is not going to do anymore. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. So this so happens to be happening in different areas of life for everyone, right? But you'll know because wherever Libra's at, for the next 2 years, you'll be releasing things, letting go. It's going to go through that portal where it's part of you, but it no longer serves you right now in this life. You may pick it up in another life. You may pick it up at another time, but right now it's not going to serve you. So we're going to unfocus on that. We're going to evolve to this newer space, right? This is the newer space going to Aries. Okay, so on the 25th, we have the full moon. It's a penumbral eclipse because the full moon is at 5 degrees and 7 minutes. And then the eclipse happens at 5 degrees and 13 minutes. It goes exact at 5 degrees, 13 minutes, which means it's right next to each other. But because it's a little off, it's called a penumbral because it's a little off. The shadow of the earth is going to be, you're going to see a little bit of the shadow on the moon. Okay. That's very telling. It's symbolic and very telling to us. Okay. It's almost like, what if we're the earth? What is going to be reflecting back to us? The shadow part of us. What part, the shadow part, what is going to be reflecting back to us in this lunar eclipse on the 25th of March, right? And so remember, these are all like the earth, the planets, the skies are always talking to us. They're trying to let us know. They're helping us out. What energies are we going to be using? What are we going to be thinking, right? So, what part of the shadows are we going to be letting go of, right? So, if you are Aries, we'll start with Aries. If you are Aries, the lunar eclipse is going to be happening in your 7th house, right? So, in your 7th house, the lunar eclipse has to do with, and this will be coming up if it's not already coming up, because energy doesn't stop or start. What are you going to be walking away from? What are you going to be unfocused on anymore? You're not going to focus on this. You're going to be walking away from this. I'm walking away from what in relationships, right? So I'm walking away from, it could be, and because this is Libra, I'm going to take it one step further. I'm trying to go slow so that everybody gets this. Because this is Libra, and Libra is ruled by Venus, where Aries is ruled by Mars, you could get a clue as to how you want to walk away or what you want to walk away from, because Libra, Venus ruling Libra means this is trying to be healed. Your Venus is trying to be healed. So if you look at your chart, your natal chart, you can do this later on today, or you can do it now if you want. Where is your Venus? That is what's trying to be evolved. That is what is trying to be let go of, resolved, and evolved more into. You are trying to heal. I'll use that word because you guys know there's nothing wrong with you, but it's just the way that we're going to experience it. We're trying to heal, evolve, understand our Venus, your Venus more, right? With relationships. But where's your Venus? If it's your Venus is in, the first house, it's a certain thing. If it's in the second house, it's got to do with your value. If it's in the third house, it's got to do with your communication. Fourth house has to do with where you came from. Fifth house has to do with creativity. Sixth house has to do with your health and well-being and how you do everyday life, right? If it's in the 7th house, it really has to do with the relationships, right? Is your relationship so? 8th house has to do with, am I ready to have these contracts? Do I want to be committed with all of this? 9th house, am I seeing the belief systems correctly, or am I understanding a different belief system? 10th house, do I like my reputation, or am I ready to walk away from that? Like, do I really like what I'm being seen for or not, right? 11th, do I like my groups? Do I like the systems? What am I walking away from? The 12th, am I spiritual enough? Do I need to look at that again? Am I really connected? And if I am, is my understanding better? Does that make sense? That's what you're going to look at. You're going to look at where your Venus is, okay? Because that is connected to this south node. That is connected to this penumbral eclipse. That's connected to this lunar eclipse that's happening. Again, it's not going to be like the end all be all. We've got 2 years of this. We've got 18 months, right? What happens on the 25th will be prominent for the next 4 to 6 months, right? And then but we're also going to have on April 8th, the solar eclipse, right? So not only are we going to be walking away from Aries, walking away from maybe imbalances in relationships, right? Maybe I have relationships without boundaries. Maybe I need to put some boundaries in my relationship, right? Does that make sense? But as you're walking away, this is going to open up too, okay? So, Taurus, this is going to happen. Remember, this is in the 6th house, right? So, am I walking away from what's been happening? Am I walking away from illness? Am I walking away from crisis? Am I walking away from chaos? Maybe that's what's been happening. Maybe I can't get my crap together. Maybe things have been so abrupt, but I'm finally walking away from that. I'm finally feeling better. I'm finally organizing. I'm finally learning not to be so critical of myself. I'm finally like, I'm walking away. I don't know all of that yet. I'm just putting that into practice as I'm walking away from that. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. And then Gemini. Gemini, you have the solar eclipse that's going to be happening. I'm sorry, not the lunar eclipse that's going to be happening in your fifth house, right? So, what am I leaving? What am I walking away from? What am I leaving? I'm leaving things and people and situations that don't inspire me, that make me not want to create, that want to always pull me down, that want to always be in a sad situation, in a crisis situation. Like that could be what you're walking away from. That could be what you're leaving. You're leaving that. That's going to be highlighted for you. Okay. And again, you're going to be moving into this space, but you're walking away from, I feel so uninspired. I want people around me that are going to lift me up. I want to be able to create. I want to be in a happier space. That's going to be highlighted. You're going to be walking away from that stuff. You're going to be leaving that stuff, right? Does that make sense to you? And then we have Cancer. Cancer in this is going to be happening in your fourth house, right? And so in your fourth house, maybe you're leaving all the emotional chaos. you know, maybe you're leaving the challenges and the changes, the emotional changes that you thought defined you, but you're learning to be defined by something else. That's your fourth house. Like, I'm not just my DNA. I have options. Just because I come from this does not mean I am this. I have options. That could be what's happening for you, Cancer, and that could be what's highlighted in the next 6 months. Now, that shows up differently for everybody, but you know, you can understand, oh, I don't have to be bogged down by my family saying I can't do this, or I'm not going to be that, or I'm not going to do this, or society saying, because of where I've come from, right? I'm better than that. I'm responsible enough, and I understand myself better. Like that's what you're going to be learning. That's what you're walking away from, what you thought defined you into what you want to be defined as, right? Does that make sense? And then Leo, this is going to be happening in your third house, right? And so what are you leaving? It's kind of like the fourth house, right? You're going to be walking away from the way that you like, I don't want to process this. I'm walking away from the old language that I told myself for so long. I'm not this, I'm not enough, I didn't do enough, I didn't do this, and the processing, like I'm leaving that. I'm no longer that. I want to be better. I want to be bigger. I want to use different processing, use a different skill, like I want to be better. So I've got to leave this way that I used to think about myself, the way that I used to process. Just because somebody did something wrong does not mean they did it on purpose. I mean, that's like the processing of, right? So you're going to be walking away from that. You're going to be leaving that. You're ready to like become more, which is the solar eclipse, right? And then Virgo, this to you is going to be happening in your second house. You're leaving the way that you thought was safe, right? So you're really safe, you're really comfortable, but what it's done is restricted you and you're kind of stuck. And so maybe you're walking away from, or you're leaving the way that you thought safety was, but because of that, it hasn't allowed you to grow. So it's almost like, yes, I'm so organized, and yes, everything, and I know exactly what's going to happen, da 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 da, but I'm kind of bored and nothing's happening. And so maybe I go a little bit outside that. Maybe I go maybe I do something a little risky. Does that make sense, Virgo? That's what you're going to be like. You're going to be leaving the comfort. I wouldn't say completely leaving comfort, but it's the way that you think about. It's not just the way that you think about it. It's the way that you realize that, yes, I have put myself in a box and it is safe and it is comfortable, but I'm kind of lonely and I'm kind of bored. Does that make sense? And you're going to be moving into the space where it's adventurous. You're going to be moving into the space where it's a little risky. Does that make sense? Okay. And then Libra, this is going to be happening in your first house. Okay. So what are you leaving? You're going to be leaving who you thought you were. You're going to be leaving, your perspective of who you thought you were, of who you wanted to be, of who you thought you wanted to be. You're going to be moving into the space of how you are with others, right? But you're going to be leaving. This is going to be going on for like the next 6 months, your identity. You're going to be like, you're going to say, oh, well, I mean, I thought that's who I wanted to be. And I thought I was somebody, but I shouldn't say it that way. I thought I was this, but now I realize I want to be this. I want to be better. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. And then Scorpio, this is going to be in your 12th house, right? And so in your 12th house, maybe you're ready to leave the chaos in your life. Maybe you're ready to actually put some form into your life, right? Maybe you're ready to, because you're going to be moving into the 6th, right? You're going to be moving into where there's order, where there's taking care of yourself, where there's not chaos. Like maybe you're going to be walking away from things that you've left so open, relationships that you've left open that you didn't like define, the chaos around you that you just kind of let happen because you didn't want to look at it because it was so overwhelming. Like you're going to be like structuring that. You're going to be like taking time for yourself finally. You're going to be like taking care of yourself finally. You're going to be like moving into the space where, hey, I'm eating better, I'm doing better, I'm looking at my body talking to me and screaming at me and me having to go to the doctor and not like, figuring out what the hell's going on. Sorry, I cursed, but that's what I'm feeling, right? So that could be happening for you, Scorpio. And then Sagittarius, this is going to be the eclipse happening in your 11th house. So you're walking away from the groups and the systems and the way that you are with these things. You're going to be walking away from those that you've outgrown, where you're realizing, this group did this for me, but I realize I don't, there's nothing wrong with the group. I'm just not there anymore. Right. Like I just had my Pluto for 16 years go through my 11th house. So I know all about this. Like you got to walk away from the systems. You've outgrown these things. You've outgrown these groups. You've outgrown these systems. And you see it, you feel it. And so for the next 6 months on starting, well, not starting, but when we have the lunar eclipse on the 25th, you could be realizing and things could be happening where you realize that you've outgrown these things. And so you're walking away from that. You're leaving that. That makes sense. Okay, and then Capricorn, this is going to be, you're going to have the lunar eclipse in your 10th house. Okay, so the lunar eclipse in your 10th house means that you're like leaving the way that you used to see that you wanted to be and have people see you as. You're going to be changing that. You're going to be walking away from what you thought you wanted to be, and that could be for career, and that could be for um, well, that could be for a lot of things, but like wherever you show up in the world, or which is career, um, or which is the way that people see you, which is your reputation, which is, how, oh, well, such and such only does that, or they're that type of person. You're going to be seeing that you don't want to be that anymore. You're going to be seeing that you want to change that. You're going to be seeing and walking away from that stuff. You're going to be leaving that and moving into, who am I? This is who I want to be. This is what I want to be seen for. This is what I want to do. Does that make sense? Okay. That's Capricorn. And then Aquarius, this is going to be in your ninth house. So you're having the lunar eclipse in your ninth house. Okay. So the lunar eclipse in your ninth house is you're walking away from your limiting belief systems. You're walking away from what you thought you believed. You're growing into a bigger belief, a bigger perspective, a bigger understanding. And you're walking away from the limiting beliefs. You're realizing that I didn't even realize I believed that, but I believed that because that was my family's belief, or that was my partner's belief, or that was my children's belief, or whatever, or that was the way society believes. So I had that belief system, but now I'm realizing that I don't have that, and it's been limiting to me. It's been very limiting to me, and I'm realizing that, and I'm going to be this. So you're going to be walking away from your beliefs, your limiting belief system, and you're moving into a bigger space. Because remember, where you're going, it's a new big house. It's a big house. And you get to put all your stuff in there. And I know as an Aquarius, you can really appreciate that. It's all your stuff in there. Whatever you want to bring, whatever you don't want to bring. But you realize you don't have much because you have such a limiting belief. You need to like believe more, believe differently. Does that make sense, Aqua? And then Pisces. Pisces, this is going to be happening in your eighth house. So you're moving away from the people and the contracts and the attachments that you've had. You're moving away from the ones that no longer serve you, the ones that aren't beneficial to you, the ones that haven't been equal with you. Like they've taken advantage of, or you're putting out more than, and that's what you're going to be looking at and walking away from over the next 6 months. These are power struggles. This is Pluto, eighth house, right? Power struggle, Scorpio. So you're going to be like walking away from these things that have not served you, and their attachments. You feel like you need them, or you felt like you needed them. And these are contracts that haven't served you anymore, but you haven't let go of. And you're going to be working on that for the next 6 months. Okay. So does all of that make sense to you guys? I haven't got to read anything. I appreciate you guys talking to each other and hoping to change your job. Yeah. So I appreciate you. Thank you for tapping the screen. I think I did everybody's. I think I did everybody's. Let me make sure. I wrote notes. I wrote it down so that I wouldn't forget. But just know the one thing that I want to say is, as this energy is coming up, we kind of already feel it. We're kind of already directing that, and I can see that by the things that people are saying here in the chat. It's like we kind of already feel that. We kind of already know. We're already focused on a different thing. We're already like trying to let go of this other thing. Um, and as this stuff comes and approaches, just realize that again, I want to remind you, you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. It's all within you. You already know. As I walk away, I'm just helping you define what you're walking away from. But as you define it and as you unfocus on it and as you realize, okay, thank you for being who I was for the time that I was, and I'm going to come over here and focus on this. Know that we're going to have the solar eclipse on April 8th. We are moving into this direction. It's not going to feel good, especially since we have Chiron, the key, the hurt. There's something there that we're going to have to not feel good about, work with the wound and let go and move through. That's what's going to get us through to this new space. For every sign and everybody, it's different. You have your chart. Everybody's different. Everybody has different things that they're going through. I'm trying to give you clues because I'm doing this general. I'm trying to give you clues. I'm trying to give you a way to work with it. Look to where, as you're walking, whatever sign I told to do that you're going to be walking away from, look at where your Venus is in your natal chart, because you're actually trying to heal that. You're trying to like evolve that too. That is in that has something to do with what you're walking away from. Okay? That's another clue to help you, right? So just know that it's not like I'm going to be walking away from and it's going to be taken away and there's going to be trauma. This is much different. But there is a wound there because why do we know this? Because Chiron's there. But just know that as we're walking away, as we're unfocusing, as we're focusing on where we're wanting to move, this is going to be opening up for us as well. Okay? Does all that make sense to you guys? So I hope this helped. Let me know if you liked this part. I love you, love you, love you. I just want to let you know, remind you that I will be doing horoscope tomorrow. And I will probably do some reading, some astrological reading. So if you tomorrow, that's kind of what it's going to be. It's going to be kind of a free Friday. I'll do the horoscopes real quick, and then I'll let people give me their birth. We'll do somebody's birth chart and see if they have any questions and see if I can help. Okay. So I love you, love you, love you. And then I'm not going to do anything this weekend. Okay. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.